Some point during this video, I fully expect there to be a knock on the door and my husband to go racing to go answer it because we're waiting on food. And he is really, really hungry. So hello and welcome to domytriesthis. I hope you brought your cuppa. I believe this is another one from my daughter. If it's from one of my subscribers, I apologize. I have the memory of a sieve. I can only remember 2 that came from subscribers at this point. There was a cat one for Halloween, and then there was a hearts one for just general. I don't think it was sent for Valentine's or anything. But if this was sent by someone, I apologize if I can't remember. But I do think that this was given to me by my daughter, found again at Kroger, where she finds 90% of my mugs. Either that or Amazon. At any rate, as you can see, it's a Christmas-themed reindeer with, holly berries and all the stuff around it. It has a beautiful red inside of the mug. And inside our holiday mug is our Stash Chocolate Hazelnut Decaf and their Cinnamon Vanilla. These are 2 that I like to mix. I also like to mix this particular chocolate with their Salted Caramel. I'm going to have to do that next time. But yes, these are 2 teas. It's a really nice flavor combination that I really enjoy. So we'll give this a sip and we will get started. Everything's really light and delicate right now, but it did just start steeping. So we're going to let it sit and do its thing while we move on to reviewing some indies. I keep doing indie unboxings on the channel, and I keep saying, I'm going to come back to them and I'm going to review them for you, and then I get more and I get more, and it seems like I've let myself fall behind quite a bit. So I'm going to be doing I think it's a total of 3 videos at this point where I catch up on some of these indies. I do think maybe 1 or 2 of them are newer on the list, but most of these are fairly old. And while for, particularly in this group, I think a number of these palettes are no longer available. However, I think it's a good reflection on the brand itself to take a look at these palettes that I picked up. And I mean, some of these are so long that I have 2 that I ended up pulling out of the list because the brands no longer exist. Now, one of them I do believe I got in early this year, but the other one I got last year, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, they no longer exist. The sites have the whole, if you want this domain kind of thing on them. And at least one of them on Facebook indicated that she was closing down. She did a big sale at one point. I missed it, but she did a big sale at one point. The other one on Instagram indicated that there was some sort of legal problem. So I don't know. I don't know if either one of them would still be in business if I had actually gone ahead and reviewed these earlier and given you a chance to take a look and go possibly think about purchasing anything. However, they are out. So we've got 3 palettes today. This particular video is the ones where my reaction is generally meh, and I have reasons for it. They aren't horrible. However, they are also not brands that I would repurchase from because they're not horrible, but they're not necessarily good, if you get my drift. At any rate, so I have 3 of them that we'll be talking about. The first one is the Give Me Glow Christmas Morning. This is one of my December stash palettes. And I will say, having used it and another one that I'm just about to show you, part of the December thing actually has changed my mind about it a little bit. There's still some issues with it, but a little bit. The other one is the SauceBox Secret Garden. This palette is no longer available. However, it is, SauceBox is still around, and they're still selling some of the singles and stuff, so I'm assuming that the formulas are fairly similar. This one only comes up, Give Me Glow puts it up every Christmas. now. It used to be just a limited edition. They weren't going to put it up anymore, and then people were just kept clamoring for it. I know that I missed it the first 2 times it came out. So, at any rate, and the last one we'll be talking about is the Certified Dynasty palette. Again, I'm not actually positive about this palette. This particular palette may be discontinued, but they have several that are in the same vein as this one. So let's go ahead and get started with the Give Me Glow. Thematically, this is Christmas, and that I enjoy that, other than the brown. I think I would have preferred the 2 browns. I think instead of a brown here, I would have liked a blue or something in the colorful vein and just keep this red-brown in here. However, that said, it came out at a time when Christmas palettes were being introduced, but we were not seeing a lot of Christmas colors. We were seeing a lot of browns, a lot of the same neutrals, and then maybe they'd put in a green, or maybe they'd put in a blue, or, you know, we weren't seeing an actual Christmas palette with an actual Christmas theme. Now, I kind of sort of get that. If you had everybody putting out the same Christmas theme colors, then people wouldn't need to buy all those palettes. But you could say that about all the millions and tons of neutrals we have out there right now. At any rate, so these metallics, there's 4 of them. These metallics are really kind of on the flaky side. I don't mean like, for me, they don't just do fallout. I mean, they do big flat flakes. And so they're kind of flaky. They do require using your finger or a sponge tip applicator. I use sponge tip applicators. I don't like using my fingers. But the flakes are also larger when you do that. It's really strange. Anyway, there is a lot of fallout with almost all the shadows. Had the least trouble with fallout and with the flaking with this duochrome. This is a very pretty duochrome. It's that red-green we were seeing coming out. This came out about the time that we were seeing all of that. You see that red shift in there? It's actually one of my favorite colors in the palette. However, and like I said, it does have less flaking. This particular gold, this Pajamas, has a lot of flaking. When I use it, you can kind of see some of the flaking on the bottom of... Stop looking at me. You can kind of see some of the flaking on the bottom of my finger there. And it's just really, you can kind of see it near the top. And it's a little bit more than just, you know, when you get fallout, it's like, you know, you got extra dust coming down on your face. These are big flakes, and it's really, in fact, I'm getting flakes now flying all over me. And you can kind of see them developing a little bit more. I've always had trouble with this palette. The flaking is not an age thing. I've always had that trouble with this palette. Like most reds that you get, this one applies brighter than in the pan. It also comes up a bit dusty, and I think just it's a very orangey red. It's a very nice red. You can see flakes on my hands. But there it is. It's actually a decent red. Reds are one of those colors with like purple. I'm getting flakes everywhere. There are flakes all over my... I don't think you guys can see them, but there's flakes everywhere. And every time I move my hand, I get more flakes. Anyway, it's a really nice red. It's just not as dark as I would hope from the pan color. It comes up a bit dusty. The silver is beautiful, and it does appear to stand up to my eyes. It doesn't fade out as quickly as a lot of shadows, which is nice, which is one thing I look for in an eyeshadow formula. And as you can see, just from these 3 shades, and let me go ahead and put this silver up here since I talk about it. Let's put the silver up here, and there you can see flakiness again. So, it's very beautiful. The pigmentation is gorgeous. Like I said, it stands up to my eye fairly well. It's very pigmented. I don't like the flaking that I get on the metallics, but other than that, it's a beautiful palette that way. Now, as I recall, this palette was supposedly made permanent according to their IG. It came back into stock this year with a gift box. So I suppose it's a permanent palette, but only releases for the holidays. It was $34. At least it is $34. That all said, I actually, because of all the flakiness and also because of some issues with the brand that I'm not going to go into with right now, this is going to be the only Give Me Glow, and I almost gave this one away. I am going to keep it because, like I said, the next palette actually helped me appreciate it more. They do work very well together. But in general, I think if you purchase things that are not these like metallics, it would be nice if they fixed it so that we don't get this flakiness that I'm dealing with right now. So I think if you got something, if you don't have problems with Give Me Glow, if you don't have issues with the way some of the drama that's been around, that's been very low key around the brand of late, just I wouldn't get metallics unless somehow they fixed this formula so it wasn't so flaky. It's beautiful. You obviously get gorgeous shine and color. Just that flakiness, it goes everywhere. Even once it's on your eyes, it's going everywhere. So that's like the biggest complaint. I do say for a Christmas palette, it does actually meet the standard of having Christmas colors and everything. So if they still have it available and you're interested, it's a decent palette. I'm not sure it was $34. Decent. Well, yeah, I guess, you know, six shades. Yeah, okay, $5 a piece. That's about on par with ColourPop. So yeah, for that price, I think it's actually okay. I struggled to reach for it when I first got it. I've not struggled so much this year as I'm a little bit more focused in how I use my makeup. However, it's definitely a holiday palette for the holidays. It's not bad. It's just not. And you can see because of that flakiness, you can see where some of that has come off. So yeah, that flakiness is just my biggest issue with that palette in particular. But the mattes are really nice. I've used the red, I've used the green. I have the green on today, and they are very nice. They're very pigmented. They do have some fallout, but it's nothing like the metallics here that we're dealing with. So the SauceBox Secret Garden palette is the next one. This palette is no longer available. The company recently rebranded. It was mostly a packaging update, but they went through a year and a half ago, something like that. They went through where they were doing sales on the current packaging of their palettes, and just to get rid of the packaging more than anything. But this palette itself is no longer available. I think the only one still available from that time is like their mermaid one or something. It's in a clamshell, and they still have that one, although it says sold out. But as you can see, this is mostly matte. I purchased this before I was fully cognizant of the fact that I'm not big on mattes and much preferred shimmers, and this only has one shimmer. This is not the palette that made me fully aware of that. However, since then it's made a palette that's more difficult for me to use, and this lavender is gorgeous, but it doesn't work on my skin very well. This peach, for obvious reasons, wouldn't work on my skin very well. Anyway, so this one is no longer available, but the same or similar singles from when I purchased this are being offered, and the formulations are probably similar, if not the same. That said, take this review with a bigger grain of salt than usual for quick reviews, because of the fact that this palette isn't even up for sale, not even on an annual basis like the Christmas one. So the Soul Shimmer in this palette, this one here, is a bit on the fussy side. Now, I can say that some of that is due to skin tone. As you can see, it doesn't quite show up on my skin. It requires a fingertip or a sponge to apply. Some of this, like I said, is skin tone, but the fallout had more color than what ended up on my lid. So wasn't entirely the skin tone. If you have your shadow flaking onto your face, giving you more color than what you can get actually on your lid, there's a problem. And I tried it with the wet brush and all that too, and the shimmer, their shimmers do not shimmer very well for me, at least not this one. And I'm thinking that problem may be why I set the palette aside initially for so long. I just wasn't getting into it. The one color that I was really hoping would work well didn't. Pigmentation isn't spectacular. For me, spectacular would be like Melt Cosmetics. But it's pretty decent, and there's minimal fallout, which is nice. The mattes are nice, smooth, not dusty, blendable. Like most purples, the purples come up lighter than what are in the package on the pan. So there they are. And you can see they look dusty. They are buildable. You can build them up. The orange feels drier than the purples do, and the green feels somewhere in the middle of the orange and the purples. But here's the orange. See, that's a beautiful color. It comes right up. The green is somewhere, again, it's somewhere in the middle. These are dusty and kind of faded, but that green is in there with just a little bit of fade in there. I do wish there was a blue in there, maybe instead of the red-brown. The brand is a bit above my price range, even when on sale, although these pans are huge, so maybe it's not when you look at it per ounce. But overall, I think like these are 6-pan palettes, and they're running for, I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I think they're running $40, $50, something. They're above my price range. That's all I know. If I'm going to buy a $50 palette, I'm going to buy it from Violet Voss, where I'm going to get more than 6 shadows. And the quality for me doesn't inspire me to buy more. So basically for me, this palette in particular did not live up to what I would think of for the price. I've gotten things to work that look like this when I swatch them. I've gotten these to work, but the word that is the most, the word is work. I have to work to make this work. And I don't like that with either one of these palettes. That said, these two palettes, actually, I did a look with them, 2 looks with them, and they complement each other beautifully. I was actually considering declutter them, but I'm thinking about keeping them now. It's the 2 out of the 3 that I'll keep. Most of the palettes that I'll be talking about in this series are palettes that I'm planning to keep. But I was considering decluttering these 2, and now I'm thinking about keeping them because they really work well together. The downside to that is you have to have them together to make it work really well, I guess. I don't know. I could probably find other palettes and figure out which one I really want to keep. Regardless, either way, they're both brands. These are all brands that I would not... these are not brands that I would repurchase from. All of these. So our last palette is the Certified Dynasty palette. This is another one that took me a long time to get to, so I'm not particularly sure that if it's in production. I have seen it on the internet at various sites on sale, but on the actual Certifeye site, I believe it says it's sold out. So it may not be in production, and people may be just getting rid of whatever stock they have left on sale. But they do have a number of other palettes that are in a very similar format. They had a whole series that looked just like this. I mean, not with different colors, but it had this format, these long boxes, cardboard, I can talk really, no mirrors, that kind of thing. I do love the image on here. Anyway. So they do have a whole bunch, or did have a whole bunch that were like this. I'm sure you could find some more if you want to give them a try. And they run about $34 a piece. I really wish this palette had more than 1 row of shimmers. You have the shimmers all on this side, and then these 2 rows are all mattes. Again, this is something that I picked up when I was really just starting to discover that I'm not a huge matte person. And these did not change that mind. Anyway, I do like they're all in 1 row where I can find them. I know where exactly to go for the shimmers. The pigmentation is odd. There's a really decent color, not as deep as it is in the pan, but still nice in that regard, but they're still dusty. Everything picks up on the brush nicely, including the shimmers, but they just don't seem to transfer the lid as well, and they need building. So they don't do well. They don't do well with these fluffier type brushes, but they do well with these types of brushes that you can get at Luxie, where they're very firm on the bristles, but they don't do well with the really soft brushes. So I don't recommend using soft brushes if you get a palette like this. In terms of pigmentation versus performance, pigmentation that you see in here and that you can swatch real well, because they do swatch fairly well. As usual, your pinks and reds are going to be a little odd. Grab one of those. So they do swatch well, or fairly well. So they're not bad for swatching, but in terms between coming up on swatching and actual performance on the eye, they actually remind me of the early e.l.f. palettes. They were not, they had decent color stories, but I had a hard time getting them to work. There's color, but they're dusty, they're fussy. You got to be particular about what kind of brush you use. You have to build them up. The one good thing is that the dustiness doesn't dull the colors on the lid. It just makes them harder to get them there. This particular palette is likely to end up in my Project Beauty Share box. That has been waiting to go out forever. But anyway, this particular palette is going to probably go in my Project Beauty Share box. There's just nothing unique about this color story. I have all these colors, or most of these colors. I think this color would be one color that I would say that I don't have anywhere. I have most of these shimmers somewhere. So there's nothing really unique in the palette in terms of color story, and having to fight it is not something that I'm really interested in doing every time I do my makeup with it. And I have better palettes with these colors, so there's really no point in keeping this thing. I will say it's a rare time when the purples performed as expected. And that probably has to do with the fact that they were kind of dusty to begin with. So here's our purples on our fingers. They do not, well, we've got one on there already, but the purples perform as expected pretty much. The colors are similar. They're a little bit lighter than what's in the pan, but the colors are similar enough to in the pan that you can sit there and say that you've gotten fairly close to what's in the pan. The whole thing, the shimmers in here, as you know, I put shimmers in the corners of my eyes because of the way my eyes act. They mattes just disappear. They're just gone. When I try to reapply them, they're very, very muddy. The shimmers are what I actually really need to stand up to my inner corner, and these just did not stand up to my eyes very well. It's not absolutely horrible, but definitely not one that stays through it all. It does work. It can be very pretty, but it is work. It's another palette that requires me to do more than I want to do to get it to do what I want it to do. Say that one 10 times fast. And I'm not fond of palettes that take work to get results. That sounds kind of lazy of me, I'm sure, but I already take long enough to do my makeup. I don't need a palette that's going to require me to fuss with it even more than, you know, to make it take even longer for me to do my makeup. I don't want to have a palette that fusses, and nothing stays on your skin. So, you know, yeah, this one is just one that just, I'd been following them on Instagram for a while. I was really interested in the palettes, I think, for about a year or so before I purchased. I do think I attempted to get this on sale, but I cannot remember. Like I said, it's a long time ago, possibly out of production. But that all said, if I didn't pay full price, I'm glad, because this just isn't. This just isn't. It just isn't. It isn't. It's not anything that I'm really all that impressed with, and I would not repurchase from this brand. So these were the ones that were like, they're okay. One of them is less okay. One of them is less okay, so I'm less likely to hang on to it. The other two I'll probably hang on to for a little while longer and then see what happens. See if I decide to keep them, if I start using them a bit more. I am using the Christmas morning one through December as part of my Shop My Stash, so it probably has a bigger chance of hanging around for a bit longer. But overall, these just, they just disappointed in a way. Not every brand is going to be fantastic, and not every brand, there are brands that are even worse out there, so there's some horrible brands, but I'm just saying that these just didn't do it for me, and they're not brands I'm going to shop from again. So, and I mean, if you don't impress a customer on the first try, why would the customer come back? And these just didn't impress me enough to make me come back. Alrighty, so that is it for the day, and I hope you like what you've seen, and if you do like what you've seen, I hope you will subscribe. When you subscribe, please hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. I currently upload 2 days a week, Monday and Thursday, but up until now, we've had bonus videos every month. We have stopped the indie brands for a little while. My daughter keeps saying I'm going to find something else, and I do find other things, but I'm hanging on to them for next year. And so we've not been doing indie brands recently. And my son's Geek Box thing that he opens, he's not getting my Geek Box anymore. He's not getting Loot Crate anymore. His dad has found another one. However, there's going to be a bit more of a delay for that one to come and kick in and before we have him open it. He will be opening some more boxes. It's just going to be a little while. This will be a problem later at some point. But right now, we're just waiting on things to settle down enough for his dad to go ahead and get the new box and get it to kick in. And if you send anything, you don't have to, but if you do send anything, that also gets opened as a bonus video on the channel. Unless you don't want me to. If you don't want me to, just let me know. Either leave a note in your box or join the domytriesthis Facebook group, which is listed down below, and let me know on there that you have sent a box and do not want to be embarrassed by me on the channel, and I won't open you on the channel. Promise. Promise. I'll be good. I'll be good. I will. If you're part of my notification squad, please check both your bell and your subscription to make sure they're both still active. If you choose not to subscribe, well, I understand. Old dragon, talk too much. I don't know. Hate brands that people love, that kind of thing. Just my opinion. You are entitled to love any of these. All of these. All of the things. You know, it's just, this is me. And I do have particular things I have to look for, like in my eyes, so we are allowed to love different things, and we are allowed to dislike different things. It's okay. But if you choose not to subscribe, I do hope you will come back again. And when you do come back again, don't forget to bring your cup of tea. Alrighty, so this has sat here for about 30 minutes, no matter what the edited final says. We're going to give it a sip, and then we will be on our merry way. I already know I'm going to like it because it's one of my favorite combos. I will say that I probably should have added at least another bag of chocolate, because in this particular mug, it's actually coming up a little bit diluted. So this must be more than an 8-ounce mug. 8 to 12-ounce mug. Maybe 8 to 10-ounce mug. So it might be 12, something like that. But regardless, it's tasting a bit more diluted. The flavors aren't coming together as well when it's diluted, but it's still a decent cup of tea. Alrighty, so that's it for the day. Hope you have a good one.